don't have to be an intellectual to recognize how much Season 8 sucked, especially in comparison to the previous seasons. Even casual fans recognized it, which the official ratings clearly show. This channel grew infamous for criticizing the show in Season 8, episode after episode for bad writing, and bad continuity and the general lack of logic. It's not a secret that the show had a potential to become the best show ever, which still is to me even with the horrible final season, just because it had the absolute perfect 6 seasons. Yeah, Season 7 was bad as well in my opinion, but Season 8 was a disaster. Even actors who earn money by excellent acting skills cannot hide how disappointing they are with Season 8. The story was rushed, character arcs destroyed. There should have been 10 seasons. The entire Season 8 and the first part of Season 9 should have been The Long Night, the war against the Night King, the second part of Season 9 and the entire Season 10 about Dany's descent into madness and war against Cersei. That's what HBO wanted as well. They tried to convince them to do 10 seasons, but were lucky enough to even get this much from D&D because they originally wanted only 7 seasons. In truth, HBO did not even get a full season. They only got 3 extra episodes out of David and Dan. Their planned final season was supposed to have 10 episodes, but when HBO convinced them to make 8 seasons, they reduced number of episodes from 10 to 7 for Season 7, and had only 6 for Season 8. Anyways, in this video we're going to talk about every single error in Season 8 Episode 1. Before we dive into the series, I just want to highlight that all the criticism is directed towards the showrunners, and not towards the actors and the whole crew that did their best with the horrible scripts they've got. Actors and everyone involved in Game of Thrones except for D&D deserve a standing ovation for their hard work over the years. With that said, let's get into it. The Season 8 premiere starts with a nice callback and parallels to Season 1 premiere, which is quickly ruined by Tyrion's awful joke. When you don't have a capability to continue Tyrion's brilliant arc from the earlier seasons, dropping his IQ considerably ever since you passed the book material, this is what you get. Arya's look at dragons gave me hope that this season might have some story continuity, because she seemed so happy to see them. Arya has always admired dragons, and especially the Targaryen queen who rode them. We learned that early on in Season 2 Episode 7, when Arya reveals to Tywin Lannister how she adores Aegon the Conqueror's sister, Rhaenys and Visenya, with the latter being her heroine. I guess Arya kinda forgot her character was supposed to like Dany.
Here, boy. Melt it down and add it to the others.
Sansa's look at dragons when they fly over Winterfell gives me such a Littlefinger vibe. She sees something so powerful and doesn't see a way not to bend her knee to such power, and it bothers her, which we clearly see when she greets Dany. Still, Sansa says she's a slow learner, but she learns. Then how come didn't she learn from Littlefinger to give fake smiles and pretend she likes Dany? A reaction which should have been natural in the first place, because the Dragon Queen has come to save your home and your people. When Jon and Bran reunited and Bran replied to Jon's "you're a man" with almost, I thought that reunion could have been done better. But at that point I was really looking forward to how Bran's story will play out. I was excited that his story will finally be somewhat exciting, as beside the Tower of Joy, his visions and Hodor moment, Bran's whole story was rather boring. In fact, it was so boring that the showrunners did not even include Bran in the entirety of Season 5. Yeah, that's right, and if you didn't notice, I don't blame you because the boy was so boring. Bran missed out the entire 5th season. I thought Season 8 had all the potential to redeem him from being this boring weird guy, to an interesting 3-eyed raven filled with visions and all the warging we could witness. At the end, all Bran did was nothing. We did not see one vision in Season 8, and the only thing Bran warged was a few ravens. And apparently that's the best story. I remember before Season 8 aired how we all thought Bran's powers would be crucial against the Night King. After all, he did hype us up by saying he needs to see better before the Night King arrives. Also, don't forget that Tower of Joy vision from the past in which he calls out to his father Ned, who hears him. Well, all of that turned out to be of no significance at all. It turned out to be nothing. They really did subvert our expectations. Northerners being unhappy with Dany's arrival at Winterfell makes no sense, especially knowing they found out from Bran that the Night King has a dragon in his army now and has broken the wall and already started his conquest over the north. Instead of their smug faces and worrying about what dragons eat and worrying about who has what title, they should have cheered at the arrival of Dany, her 2 dragons and her huge armies. I'm glad Jon Snow shot Sansa and all the petty Northern lords by saying that without Dany and her army and her dragons, they would not stand a chance. Although I don't like his statement, I had a choice: keep my crown or protect the North. I chose the North, because that's a lie. After Viserion was shot down and when they were on the boat going to King's Landing with a kidnapped White, Dany gave him her word that she will march her armies north, and together they will destroy the Night King. Jon then said thank you Dany, on which she replied that she doesn't remember who called her that last time. Perhaps her unpleasant brother Viserys, on which Jon replied, alright, not Dany, how about my queen? And bend the knee, not literally cause he was injured, but it was pretty much it. So when Jon says I had a choice, keep my crown or protect the north, implying that Dany would not come if he did not bend the knee is not true. I guess D&D kind of forgot about the entire boat scene and about Jon Snow not being able to lie. The season 8 is rushed and full of errors.
Everyone okay?
Anyways, Tyrion then also tries to explain to these petty Northern lords that without Jon Snow and his successful travel south to convince the Dragon Queen to help the North, they would all die. This is followed by possibly the most stupid question in the show, which is Sansa's question. May I ask, how are we meant to feed the greatest army the world has ever seen? While I ensured our stores would last through winter, I did not account for the Dothraki Unsullied and 2 full-grown dragons. What do dragons eat anyway? Really Sansa, that's your concern. Will there be enough food until the Night King attacks you tomorrow evening, and what do dragons eat? Someone should sit her like a small child and explain to her that not only does Winterfell stand no chance against the Night King without Dany, but they would not even have the weapons that are able to kill the Night King's army that Dany provided from Dragonstone. Dany literally has nothing to gain from this allegiance with the North. She's seen the Night King. She knows she will lose far more of her own men than the North could ever provide her, and still she decides to save the North. Dany should have pulled the Sansa move Sansa did on Arya in season 7, about how without her the North did not stand a chance in a fight, and she should be on her knees thanking her. At least Sansa does recognize in episode 2 that instead of being rude, she should have thanked her as soon as she arrived. Tyrion says if anyone survives the war to come, we'll have Jon Snow to thank. He did risk his life to show us the threat is real. Thanks to his courage, we have brought the greatest army the world has ever seen. We have brought 2 large full-grown dragons. Oh boy, did you thank him after you all survived. Not only did he save all of Westeros because he convinced Dany to ally with the North and defeat the Night King, but at the end he also killed Dany to once again save Westeros from Dany. The Mad Queen, the shitty writers made her mad in the span of 1 episode, who intended to liberate all of Westeros by burning down everything and everyone. They, especially Tyrion, thanked him really good at the end, not even mentioning his name at the Great Council when electing the king, banishing him to the wall. To make things even worse, the council was literally made up of 90% of people who are good with Jon, most being his friends and family, most of whom knew Jon was the rightful king. When the question of the potential king came in, nobody mentioned his name. I'll go hard on that when we come to that episode. Anyways, back to the season 8 premiere. Next we have a scene in which we see tons and tons of dragonglass that they mined, and brought from Dragonstone to Winterfell, which is the only thing capable of killing the Night King's army, beside a few Valyrian steel swords and fire. What was the purpose of showing all of this dragonglass when in episode 3 we see that the entire Dothraki cavalry who are on the first line of defense, or should I say offense, don't even have dragonglass weapons, and therefore 100,000 of them would not be able to kill even one White. Lucky for them, Melisandre showed up unexpected out of nowhere and set their arcs on fire. Best writing ever. Is she really saying that the queen who instead of going for the Iron Throne and remaining south came to help her and the north is not a good queen? What? Sansa and Tyrion's conversation had some good parts with the two discussing the last time they saw each other, especially when Sansa says Joffrey's wedding had its moments and both smiled. It really hurts to see how the showrunners made Tyrion go from one of the smartest people in the realm to a complete fool who believes Cersei will send army north, and Sansa here mocks him for that.
Fool.
I was a fool.
Not for the first time.
They really thought we would be okay with Sansa, who spent only a few years around Cersei, understanding her character and motives better than Tyrion, Cersei's brother who spent most of his life with her. Yeah, right. Tyrion and his plans being so idiotic in recent times is not a testament how Tyrion's character is stupid, because it's not. Tyrion is one of the smartest people in this world, but it's rather that showrunners were not smart enough to do his character after the book material ran out. How drastically they reduced Tyrion's IQ is still beyond me. Every single of Tyrion's plans in seasons 7 and 8 were so bad and devastating for Dany, that at one point before being sent the leaks, I was convinced Tyrion was a traitor working for Cersei. I even made a few videos about it. Jon-Arya reunion was actually alright for some part. In my opinion, it could have been done better, but compared to everything else, it was alright. Hug and the first part of the conversation was done just fine, but then Arya goes on to stay on Sansa's side instead of supporting Jon, who is obviously right about them needing Dany. Also, that Arya's now already infamous line, "Sansa is the smartest person I've ever met," is such a punch to the face to all of us. Don't get me wrong, I'm okay with Sansa being smart. She's had years and years of learning to play the Game of Thrones, learning from some of the best, including Cersei and Littlefinger. But would the one who knows the game really act like that towards Dany? Can you see someone really politically smart act like that towards their allies who came to save them? Anyways, Arya saying Sansa is the smartest person she's ever met is plain stupid, especially when you remember she met and spent a good amount of time with none other than mighty Tywin Lannister. Then again, Arya is not very good with words, which we learn later when she says for Dany, "I know a killer when I see one," right after Dany burned down the entire King's Landing, killing 1 million people. Good call, Arya. So yeah, Arya saying for Sansa to be the smartest person she's ever met makes no sense. Not only because Arya definitely met people smarter than Sansa, but also because there was nothing Sansa displayed in season 7 or 8 that would lead Arya to say that. Sansa almost fell for Littlefinger's game in season 7. That's right, it was not Sansa manipulating him. It was once again her being manipulated during the entire season, until Bran told her behind the scenes what's Littlefinger really about and what he did. This was confirmed by an actor who plays Bran Stark as well as by the showrunners. So there's that. Also, if Jon's "How did you sneak up on me" was meant to foreshadow Arya sneaking up on the Night King 2 episodes later in the same place, that's not smart foreshadowing because here Jon is alone, so it's explainable and logical that a year or two of training to become a stealthy assassin would result with her being able to sneak up on a person who is alone, but her sneaking up on the Night King who is surrounded by all the White Walkers and his entire army of the dead, yeah, that's a BS. And by the way, as you can see, there's literally nothing Arya could have used to come close to the Night King without being spotted, nor something to use to jump on him the way she did. Their reunion ends with Arya saying to Jon something along the line, "Don't forget you are my and Sansa's family," with Jon's face being like, what? At the time I thought Bran told Arya and Sansa about Jon's parentage, and that's why Arya says this, but no. We see them learn that later from Bran, instead of learning it from Jon, which made me so angry. So her saying this to Jon Snow here makes no sense. Down south, things are not going great either. Euron tells Yara his ship's silence is full of mutes. Thank God they are still holding continuity in some parts of the story. Oh, never mind. Later, they kind of forgot they had no tongues when they yelled and shouted. Euron's complete character is just a joke. I honestly feel bad for the actor who was so pumped to play Euron because he's a big fan of the books, and expected his character to be like in the books, one of the most evil and badass characters, telling news reporters how his character is going to make both Joffrey and Ramsay look like little babies. That was before he got the scripts. Poor guy. Okay, that's too many errors for one video, we'll have to stop right here. The part 2 for season 8 episode 1 errors is coming tomorrow.